It's like, suppose for a second here this morning that a person went to their boss, and it's like they said, boss, like, I know that I've been doing a horrible, sloppy job here recently, but the reason that I've been doing a bad, sloppy job, it was like because you haven't given me a raise. Now that if you would give me a raise, I would no longer do a sloppy job. So then I'll tell you what to do. Boss, you can give me a raise, then you'll see just how hard I really can work. How many of y'all know a person like that? Maybe that person is us. You, I don't know, but most of us have worked around people like that, or we've been around somebody like that. Now, it's not only would that person probably not get a raise. These days it's hard to tell, but it's like probably that person wouldn't get a raise, and that person would also probably be out looking for a new job. At least if they work for my boss, they'd be looking for a new job. Simply because that's not how real life works, is it? That there isn't how life works. We can't do a sloppy, bad job at work and expect a raise or a promotion. Now, here's the problem. There's a lot of Christians sometimes want to give God slop and expect blessings in return. Sorry, but that also doesn't work like that. God only wants people that are fully committed. God only wants people that are fully devoted. We are starting something new this morning, and it's over the next several weeks. I'm not sure exactly how many weeks yet, but it's over the next several weeks. We are going to be going through the life of the prophet Elisha with an S. Not the great prophet Elijah, but the life of the prophet Elisha. Now, Elisha was the student, or he was the apprentice of Elijah. It's like Elisha was the one that carried the torch as the great prophet after Elijah got to ride into heaven on a fiery chariot, and that wonderful story. We'll read that story next week. But it's like, this is who Elisha is. He was the apprentice. He was the student. He was the successor of Elijah. Now, it's like, personally, I think that Elisha kind of gets a raw deal. I don't think that he always gets the credit that he's due. I don't think he always gets the credit that he deserves. Because throughout the Bible, it often seems like all the fame and all the glory, it always kind of went to Elijah. He's the one that is mentioned throughout the New Testament. Because in the New Testament, we always see where the crowds always try to compare Jesus to Elijah. He always kind of got all the fame, and he always got all the glory. Especially after he did call fire out of the sky, and so he did slaughter hundreds and hundreds of prophets of Baal. So he did kind of do a lot of cool stuff. But it's like Elisha is actually, he was actually a more powerful prophet than Elijah. So here's just a little background on Elisha. And here's why I kind of say that he doesn't get the credit or the due that he deserves. It's like Elisha actually performed twice as many miracles as Elijah. Did you know that? He actually performed twice as many miracles as Elijah. He also went to twice as many cities, and he also witnessed to twice as many people as Elijah ever did. We will talk about that more in detail. There's actually a specific reason why he witnessed twice to people and went to twice to cities and did twice to miracles. That is actually a key number, and so we will talk about that in detail next week. But as for this week, I want us to see how Elisha was a man that demonstrated what it looks like to be fully committed. We see that Elisha gives us a great example of what commitment, what the devotion looks like. We will see where he did not do a sloppy job and wasn't ask God for a raise. He didn't give God slop and doesn't ask for blessings. So to turn in your Bibles to the book of 1 Kings, once again, the Pew Bibles, I believe it's on page 295, if you're using one of the Bibles in the pews. So we're looking at the book of 1 Kings, chapter 19, verses 14 through 21. It's on page 295. Well, it's in the verses that we're going to read. We are going to see Elisha rise on the scene. You can call this his coming out party. You can call this his ordination. This is kind of his big arrival on the scene. Let's say up until these verses, let's say up until now, he has been living an ordinary, obscure life as a farmer. Some of you guys can relate to this. But see, Elisha was just your average, everyday Joe farmer. Then there's until one day, God sends the prophet Elijah to this farm to pay him a visit. And God tells Elijah to anoint Elisha as the next great prophet. And so let's read 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 14 through 21. Then it says, and he said, this here is Elijah talking, and he says, I have been very zealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down their altars, and so killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they seek to take my life. Then the Lord said to Elijah, Go, and say, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And it's when you arrive, anoint Hazael as king over Syria. Also, you shall anoint Jehu, the son of Nimshi, as king over Israel. That's like Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah, you shall anoint as prophet in your place. It shall be that whoever escapes the sword of Hazael, Jehu will kill. That's like whoever escapes the sword of Jehu, that's like Elisha will kill. Yet I have reserved 7,000 of Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal, as to every mouth that has not kissed him. So did he depart from there. Let's say Elijah found Elisha, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and said he was with the 12. Then Elijah passed by him, and he threw his mantle, or he threw his cloak on him. Let's say he left his oxen and ran after Elijah. That's he said, please let me kiss my father and my mother, and said, then I will follow you. Then he said to him, go back again, for what have I done to you? That's it. So Elisha turned back from him, and so he took a yoke of oxen, and he slaughtered them and boiled their flesh, using the oxen's equipment, which means he burnt his plows to form his sacrifice. That's like he gave it to the people, as it did they ate. Then as he arose, it said that Elisha becomes the servant of Elijah. That's again the verses that we read. We see that Elisha, he exhibits for us here what it means to be fully committed to something. He gives us a great example of what it looks like to be fully committed. You can even say, in a way, that he exhibits ridiculous commitment. Yeah, it kind of looks like irrational thinking by the way he acted. We see that Elisha wasted no time in giving an answer. He didn't lollygag around. He didn't go away. He didn't take time to think about it. We didn't see him sit down. It's like make out this long list of all the pros and the cons of what's like, should I do it? Should I not do it? He didn't even go to consult any guidance on this. Well, it's like in most worldly standards, we would say that like, he did not play it safe. He didn't play it safe. He didn't make his decision by the standards that way we would typically think of as making a good, rational decision. But it's what we do see is him immediately saying yes to God's calling through the prophet Elijah. Now, I don't want us to get confused on what I'm trying to say here or it's what the Bible is trying to say here. This is not a sermon or a lesson to promote going off and it's like selling all of your items and selling everything off there because God told you to do that. And this is not a sermon talking about quitting your job and like being a bum and living some kind of reckless and carefree life. What we're talking about here is when God lays a true calling on your life. There is a big difference in living a carefree, reckless life, and it's living a life that is being fully committed to God's call. Now that's interesting because at a previous church, I won't give any names of anything to protect the guilty, but it's at a previous church, I sat on the board council of something that was called Community Missions. And it's basically this board was to allocate money to go out towards local missions in the area, and it went to people who needed money for rent or for whatever. It was like we used to cut a lot of wood and then take it to people for their wood stoves and stuff. But there was a person who come to the church one day asking for money, which is pretty typical. That happens a lot, and I just happened to be nominated to sit on this committee, so I was in the room. And it's like the person needed money for a rent there because they didn't have a job. And it's like, we're like, well, we thought you had a job. Didn't you get that new job and such and such? Well, yeah, but it's like God told me to quit that job. And what's it needs to say, the man quit his job and he didn't have any money to pay his rent, buy any food or any groceries, and that is not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, but I have to throw this disclaimer in because a lot of people can take this stuff and they can twist it and they can run it different ways. But it's what we're talking about here is being fully committed to God's call on your life. Now, it's not only can you say that his commitment was full, but we can also say that Elisha's commitment was complete. You can say that he was fully committed, but also at the same time he was completely committed. Just look back at the verses that we read. After Elijah threw his cloak over the shoulders of Elisha, which that there is a sign of a transfer of power. This was a symbol of Elijah passing his power down to Elisha. We see that Elisha does something strange. We see that he burns his plows. It says that he slaughters his oxen. And so then he left his family behind. But so basically, we see that he left everything behind that he knew and loved. All that he had, all that he loved, everything that he knew, we see that he gave it all up, and so he went to follow Elijah. It's like I wish Jeff was here so that we could have a room full of farmers, because we got a lot of farmers here. But as you farmers, sit back and think about that for a second. What would it take for you to burn your tractor to the ground? What would it take for you to slaughter all of your livestock? Think about that. This is what he done. This is what he actually did. I mean, we are talking about real commitment here. We are talking about real devotion here. So then you have to ask the question, why in the world would he have done all of this? Why did he have to burn his plows? Why did he have to slaughter his oxen? Why did he kiss his family goodbye and pack his bags and leave? Because even to me, it's rational way of thinking, all this seems overboard. It seems like this is all overkill. And it's like, think about this. He burned his plows, and thus he slaughtered his oxen so that he could never go back to them. He got rid of everything in his life that could have possibly held him back from him pursuing God's call on his life. He burned his plows. He slaughtered all of his oxen. He said goodbye to his family. All those things that he was used to, all the stuff that he was comfortable with, all those things that we talked about last week, all those normal things in his life, he gave up. He didn't just give them up. He actually burned them to the ground so that he could never go back to them. So so that he can have no excuses to ever go back to them. I mean, we're talking about real, true commitment here. Now, here's the sad part. It's like, sadly, in today's times, we don't see a lot of commitment anymore. We don't see a lot of devotion anymore. We don't see them in churches anymore. We don't see a lot of commitment or devotion in the church anymore. We don't see it in families anymore. We see families are scattered everywhere. We see broken homes. We see single-parent homes. We don't see commitment in the workplace anymore. We don't see the devotion in the workplace. We don't see it amongst their leaders. We don't see commitment or devotion amongst their leaders anymore. It almost looks like commitment and devotion it's like they're starting to become extinct. As a culture, as a society, as a nation, as a world, we have sadly become a person that does a sloppy job and then complains to the boss that they want to raise. That is who we have become. But it's like I'm saying that as a society, we can do better. As a church, we can do better. That's like most things. All of these changes need to start and take place in the local churches. Like I said a little while ago, we as the church are supposed to be the salt and the light in this world. We are the ones called to be the salt and the light. Not our leaders, not our politicians, not our governments, certainly not celebrities, but we are the ones called to be the salt and light in this world. What's like I feel, and as most pastors feel, that's like most church leaders feel now, and it's like they all agree that it is time for the church to step up. It is time for us as the church, that's like to demonstrate what commitment and what devotion looks like. It's time for us as the church to demonstrate how to lead a family, but it's hard for the church to demonstrate how to lead a family because there's a 50% divorce rate within the walls of the church. So how can we demonstrate how to be committed to our families like when we're not? It's time for us as a church to demonstrate what a good employee or what a good employer looks like. It's time for us as a church, it's time for us as a Christian to demonstrate what a true leader looks like. We need Christians to step up as leaders within our community. And it's time for the church to teach and to personally demonstrate what love is. That's not hate. There's still too much hate within the walls of the church. And it's time for the church to start teaching. It's time for us to start demonstrating to the world what love looks like. See, there's way too much hate in this world, and all of this starts within the walls of the local church. But it's before the local church can even step up to the plate we as an individual need to step up, and it's like we need to evaluate our own lives. That's so what I want us to start asking ourselves this week. That's like when you're home alone, or you're out on the road driving a truckload of cattle to some other state, or you're driving to work. I want you to ask yourself, I want all of us to examine our own heart. Ask ourselves the question, is my commitment to God full and complete like it was in Elisha's life? Am I really living a life that is committed to God, or am I simply giving God slop and it's like hoping for a blessing? Am I that person that is doing a bad job begging for a raise? And it's like, if you're not that person, and it's like, if you feel like you're not being fully committed or fully devoted, ask God to reveal the things in your life that you may need to walk away from. We talked about that some last week. Ask Him to show you what plows to burn. Ask Him to show you what oxen you may need to slaughter. Ask Him to even show you people in your life that you may need to walk away from. We see that Elisha did all. He exampled all of this for us. Because we as the church need to do this simply because the church needs, the world needs the church now more than ever. Just like we said earlier, that the labor pains are getting closer together. At times, it doesn't even look like we're having labor pains anymore. It just looks like full-blown labor. It looks like full-blown labor at times. It's getting crazy. But it's like the world needs the church now more than it has ever needed. All you have to do is turn the TV on. All you have to do is just turn the news on, and it's like it has to slap you in the face that times are getting short. Times are getting short, so it is time for us to evaluate our own lives. It's time to evaluate our churches, and I'm not talking about Afton Chapel as an individual church. I'm talking about the universal church here. I'm talking about every church on this planet. We all need to evaluate ourselves, and we all need to take a look at this tough question of, is there something that we need to get rid of? Is there something we need to change? Is there something we talked about last week that is normal in our lives that we do need to be rid of? And because the world needs the church now more than ever. Let us pray. Dear God, we do thank you that the church is here. God, we do thank you for instituting the church. And God, we just pray that you will give us the wisdom, and you will give us the courage, Lord. You will give us the boldness to be salt and light on this earth. And God, just teach us how to love one another. Teach us how we can show love, how we can show compassion. And Lord, give us the courage and the boldness to stand up against hate in this world. And Lord, I pray for all the churches, Lord. And Lord, I pray for all the people that are listening online to this sermon. But Lord, I also pray for all the hearts that are in this room this morning. And God, I pray that if there is a heart that needs to turn to you this morning, and God, if there is a person that needs to burn some plows and it's like slaughter some oxen in their life, God, I pray that you'll lay those things on their heart. And God, I pray that they will do it for you today. And Lord, we just give your Son praise this morning. And Lord, we just love you so much. God, we do pray all of this in and through the name of your Son, Jesus.